Testing. Testing the English. Da? Hajo Mara? Nel Gogudu.
Oh, fantastico, perfetto.
Testing.
Ti presento,
Oh, yeah.
ti presento.
It looked like I'm sitting in a tropical something there.
Well, Tashidele from Alex is one of the members of the center. He's the one who organized the web meeting.
Okay. Tested it.
Yes. Famoso?
Oh,
Tashidele?
tested it.
Non riesce a sentirti. Sei a scuola o al lavoro? You need to listen from here. Oh, yes, grazie. What do I say for grazie? Grazie, grazie mille, but you can really? Speak in English, you understand English. You can speak English, you're most welcome. So, we'll enjoy. Here we go. Thank you. Now showtime.
They're not on yet.
Grazie, grazie. Così adesso hai conosciuto di tutti perché.
That's the Dixway. Oh, yeah. I should keep speaking as we put this on. Testing 1, 2, 3. That's there, yeah. Okay. So should I turn this up higher? That's probably okay. Yeah, take it. Take it.
Come si vede? Va bene lo stesso? Si sente? Si sente e si vede? Ok. Aspetta che devo mettere un po' di... Si è attorcigliato il cavo. Ok. Ok, mi vedi? Sì. Mi senti? Ok, perfetto. Bene. Ho visto, perfetto. No, nessun problema. È un esperimento, quindi va benissimo. No, perché se risolviamo questo problema, noi abbiamo la possibilità di fare la diretta ogni giorno, capito? Poi chi si aggrega, si aggrega. Per cui io adesso avrò l'inglese che arriva tramite queste cuffie e l'italiano che esce su questo microfono. Hai visto su Facebook il video che ho pubblicato? C'è una mega telecamera, sai, di quelle che tu giri e la telecamera rimane ferma, quel sistema lì. Non so se trovo qua. Sì, perché c'è il gruppo taiwanese che sono bravissimi. Certo. Allora, tu hai qualche contatto con il gruppo di Padova? Manda il link anche a Padova, io lo mando anche a un paio di Sciampa. L'evento di questa sera, semplicemente, che sarà un dibattito. Perfetto, con Montaggio Italy, e Champagnaggi. Alex, mi senti? Alex? Allo? Allora, stacco un attimo il microfono perché devo dare ancora un po' di carica al telefono. Appena comincia la diretta, quindi dillo tu, tu se non sentite la mia voce è perché sto ricaricando un po' il telefono, ok? Grazie. Grazie. Do you think the seated part will be there? Do you think the seated part will be there?
No.
No. Oh, that was a nice touch having. Sorry. Campo, it was a nice touch this morning having peanut butter and Nutella.
Yes.
Very nice.
There are some really nice buns that they make that he wasn't able to find this morning. And I need to figure out where they can get the buns because they have them up in the back. Yeah.
From a bakery, a local bakery.
No, we bake them in the bakery. Yeah. But they aren't coming to flatbreads, are okay, but. Yep.
Don't mind me. Siamo in diretta da Gaia, da Casimura. Vediamo se si riesce. It's like having a ringside seat.
Mm-hmm.
Mi senti? What's his name?
Kempo Kalsangnima.
Kelson?
Kalsangnima. Kempo Kalsangnima is taking his seat as he's presiding over the debate this evening. The two opposing sides are also taking their seats.
From a variety of different compass or shedras.
The two sides of the debate include monks from the 9 different shedras that participated in the Kaju Gunshu this year. This evening's debate is one of the two debates. These are the final events of the Kaju Gunshu for 2023 and 24. Seated on the stage are the kempos of the various monasteries that participated in the debates, as well as a few tulkus, young tulkus. This is Khenpo Khalsang Nyima of Rumtek Monastery. This evening in the sacred site of Bodh Gaya, where a teacher, the perfect Buddha, awoke to complete and perfect Buddhahood, in this Kagyu Munlam Pavilion, I'd like to welcome everyone who has gathered here, including all of the masters who have perfected the 3 trainings, the Khenpos, as well as the source of refuge, the Sangha, the gathering of the Sangha, as well as all of the members of the public. To begin, I'd like to wish you good evening. Now, the unexcelled and supreme path for bringing sentient beings to happiness is the precious teachings of the Bhagavan Buddha. And in order for it to spread in all times and all lands and to flourish, and for these teachings to benefit all sentient beings, all of the different traditions have considered the communities of teaching and practice to be extremely beneficial and important. And then likewise, our protector in this and future lifetimes, the Gyalwang Karmapa, who is the embodiment of the activity of the Buddhas, the 17th Karmapa, Origin Twinley Dorje, in order to restore the teachings of our practice lineage and to help them thrive, has helped develop the community, the monasteries for study, and in order to increase the education and make them better. And gave the instructions to the Kagyu monasteries that they should practice the tantras of the great translator Marpa. He also reformed the monastic codes of conduct so that they'd be more in keeping with the Vinaya. And as a method for us all to develop the prajna intelligence and discernment in our beings, he has increased the. He has he introduced new prayers to the Kagyu Munlam with beautiful melodies that, when we just hear them, are able to affect our minds and move us. And in order to completely perfect the 2 accumulations, he has also encouraged everyone to improve our practice of torma making and making offerings. And so here in this Kagyu Munlam, anyone who sees it, whether from the east or west, can feel such great faith, where they often come to shed tears of faith. And so this is what the Kagyu Munlam has become known as doing. Likewise, the Sangha members from the Kagyu monastic colleges have been studying, and so that their studies can be improved and become better. He has invited various Khenpos and Geshes from the 5 different Dharma lineages to serve as judges during competitive debates in order to improve our understanding of logic and syllogisms, and not only that, in order to improve the writing and composition. He convened many conferences on Gampopa's ornament of precious liberation. And he has also encouraged people to engage in listening, contemplating, and meditation for themselves, and to benefit others through listening, debate composition, and teaching. And so this is to benefit all essentially, but in particular to benefit the teachings of philosophy. He has encouraged us to have the Western-style debates, and the reason for this is that these are the types of debates that someone can encourage, and people can understand, even without any particular education in the specifics of debate. And so in the future, in order for us to be able to teach the Dharma for others and for people to participate in discussions and to teach others, to help us increase our skills and the strength of our scholarship. And the reason for this is that some people, through the power of their speech and their eloquence, are able to get people to laugh so hard they're unable to stop. And some people, they can say something that is so sad that everyone has unable to do anything but just sob uncontrollably. And they're able to speak in ways that can affect the way people see and think. And thinking that there's no other way of being able to affect the ways other people think. And so in this way, this is the skills of teaching and explaining. And so in order to do this, and it's also so that our study is not just something that we read in words, but so that it becomes something that we can actually speak about in terms of experience, people's experience. For example, when the Mahasiddhatilopa manifested the realization of Mahamudra, and he sang Vajra songs, all the people in that era, everyone who lived in the area became siddhas, male and female. And this is because he was speaking about his experience in terms of experience. And it's because he was explaining his own realization and his own experience. And not only that, with Milarepa, Shepa Dorje, was able to spend a long time in isolated places, practicing the teachings of Marpa as he was taught by Marpa. And then he later, when he taught them in the form of Vajra songs, it wasn't just human beings, but also animals, and such as dogs and deer, who he was able to affect with it. And the power of this came from his own experience and realization, because he's teaching from his own experience. And so that's in terms of high realization. But even these days, in terms of our own day, there are many people who teach the Dharma in our world, and many of the people, some people have a very high level of education, very understand, but because they haven't got a lot of experience in speaking, their students they get bored, and they're unable to understand it. They find things that it's difficult to understand, and they often get bored with it. And this is because they don't have enough skills in speaking. Likewise, when some teachers explain it, they're able to their students are able to understand. They're able to understand with, and the more enthusiastic they have, the more enthusiastic they get. And so this is, there are some teachers that are superior in these ways, and so the Gyawan Karmapa asks the students to engage in speaking, writing, and debate. And so in this way, to be able to participate in on the world stage in discussions and so forth, and also in the future, so that when they teach the people with faith, they can speak with great confidence in ways that will be able to bring people to think in ways that accord with the great path. And so, because with this great intention, the Gyawan Karmapa started holding these Western-style debates. And so the time I'm speaking now is my own time to speak is coming to an end. So now we will, for the actual event, for now, I'd like to just introduce the debaters. And today our debate is whether conduct is more important than education, whether education and study is more important. So is conduct more important is good conduct more important than education? So which is more important? Or is education more important than the other? So one side is saying that the education is more important, the other that good conduct is better. So this is the main topic of our debate tonight. And so here, first of all, and so this way we have a presenting side and opposing side. And so for the presenting side we have 10 minutes each for each side. And after the basic presentation has been given, and then the other people have the set 3 minutes to speak, and then the third time around 1 minute, and then at the end there will be a concluding speech for 5 minutes. And at the conclusion there will be a little bit of there will be some discussion. Some people speaking from the opposing side, some people from the supporting side, and so there will be 10 minutes for that. So this way, the time will be divided in this way. So the beginning, will begin with the presenters, the supporting side, and so this will be Karma Norbu. So Karma Norbu will now speak for, I'd like to ask Karma Norbu to discuss his position in 10 minutes. So first of all, So I'd like to ask everyone to give him a round of applause and welcome. So this is a prostration to the Kagyu Gurus. First of all, I'd like to offer my give my greetings to Mingyu Rinpoche, Tsoknyi Rinpoche, all the other lamas and tulkus, and Khenpo Khalsen Tulku, and as well as all the Khenpos and teachers, as well as all of the members of the Sangha, who have gone forth, who are gathered in Bodh Gaya. So, touch to everyone. As you all know, the topic of our tonight's date is whether education is more important than conduct, or whether conduct is more important than education. And I am speaking on the supporting side, saying that education is more important than conduct, and there are several reasons for saying this. And the first reason is both conduct and education are very important in our lives. I'd like to say that education is much more important than conduct, and the reason for this is that if we think about the word for education, or sheyu, and the qualities of knowing. And so we say this word for education, or the qualities of knowing. This comes from the Sanskrit word shiksha. And we say the Sanskrit word shiksha, or education. When the translators translated it, they decided to translate it as sheyan, or qualities of knowing. And the reason for this is that when they're translating the word shiksha into they always translated it actually the Tibetan word lapa, which could mean trainings. And because of this, then they would. And then there are other words that came up, such as shedik and sheya, and all of which mean the same thing, education in Tibetan. And if we talk about the different types of education, there are traditional education, and modern day education. And traditional education has been continued from from ancient times until now. These are the different types of the 5 different sadhus of the tradition. Now, there are several reasons why education is so important. The first of these is that if we look at the life stories of the gurus of the past, they've all spent studying the 3 trainings, the 3 different spaces, whatever. They've always treated education as more important than conduct, and the reason for this is that because education has greater power and greater impact than qualities. For example, even when you're studying the Vinaya, the education is extremely important, even in studies such as the Vinaya discipline. If you think about with the Mahabharata, he said, I spent 3 years in Nepal studying. I went 3 times disregarding my life. And what did he do when he was in India? He himself, until he was the age of 40, worked very hard to study and contemplate, and also, even though he understood the danger to his own life, he traveled to India for the sake of the Dharma. And this is primarily because he understood how important education is. And so this is primarily because he wanted education. It was not because of conduct. So, as I said in the Ornament of the Sutras, if we want to study the five sciences, we need to study with someone who knows. And so this also says that the studies are more important. So whether one is if you're going to be a noble individual, whether the foundation vehicle or Mahayana, you need to have an education to do that. If we think about present-day education, in Buddhism, we always make the vast aspiration that all sentient beings be happy. And the power that to bring this comes because of our education, it's not through our conduct that we can accomplish such great aspirations. And the third reason is I'm going to talk about the four reliances, that not relying on the individual, but relying on the Dharma. And so it's not depending on someone's external conduct, but instead of turning on the education that you receive. It doesn't depend on whether they're inside, whether they look good or anything like that, or their conduct. Instead, whether they have the teachings that they can teach you in their own being. And so these are very clear, and that education is much more important than conduct. Likewise, when we're thinking about our view, meditation, or conduct, it's like the view of the selflessness of the view individual, and if we are able to develop through our meditation, we're able to develop the realization, then our conduct naturally happens. And so for this reason, I see that the education is extremely important. So when you think about it in terms of it's as it said in the calling the Guru from afar, what it says there is, so on the outside we have to look like we actually have good practice, but on the inside we have we actually don't, our own minds are not changed. So because if you look like you have good conduct inside, but your mind is not good, then this is not proper. So whether you're speaking about things in terms of worldly or dharma things, it's important to have the mind. So when you think, for example, in worldly terms, if you're not a doctor but you try to practice medicine, then that's just going to harm people. There's no benefit to anyone at all. Similarly, if you're a doctor and you have a medical education, then you can actually benefit beings. You can actually be able to benefit people. Likewise, our education is extremely important. So thank you very much. So Karma Norbu has now has spoken about how education is more important than conduct. He's spoken very well. Thank you very much. So please applaud him. Next, the opposing side. We'll say that conduct is more important than education. And Yeshe Dorje will present the opposing position. And so first of all, to give him a round of applause in welcome. So Yeshe Dorje, please begin. He began with a prostration to the Gautama Buddha. So here on this 19th of January 2024, this Western-style debate of the Kagyu Gunsha is being held. I'd like to, in the presence of the picture of His Holiness the Gyalan Karmapa, as well as all of the Kempos and Lamas on the stage. I'd like to express my respect and good wishes, as well as all of the moderator and the members of the Sangha, as well as the members of the public and everyone watching over the internet. So I'd like to offer my warm greetings and tashdile. So here the main topic of our debate is whether debate is more important than conduct or conduct more important than education. So since I'm on the opposing side, I would like to say that education is not so important. It's really that conduct that is extremely important at the very beginning. And I would like to say a few words about this. If we think about the essence of conduct, what do we mean when we say conduct? We generally mean this as the way that we act with our body, speech, and mind. And of course, we have to have good conduct. Of course, it's not we're talking about conduct in general. We're talking about good conduct that's important. The reason why we're saying good conduct, in order to be a good person, the first thing from the very beginning, you have to have good conduct. That's what we first look for. And the reason why this is in order for this person to be a good person, it's extremely important for him to have good conduct. And so in this way, the conduct is more important. Second, the reason is that it is important historically. And also from the 20th and 21st centuries, when we think about what we actually see in our current time, it's really important. In historical terms, during the time that our teacher, the Perfect Buddha, was present in this world, there were two types of way that he benefited such people. One was to perform miracles, one was to teach the Dharma, and one was to through his conduct. And so when we think of one of these is conduct. So the conduct, when he was gathering disciples, what he said is, so some people, there are two beings who said were subdued through their conduct. Who were they? They were Shariputra and Madhgalena. If we think anything about it, it's actually so it understood that it was a time for people to subdue such as it. And so he sent the Ashvajit to go tame them. And the reason why he sent it, and so he asked Ashvajit to go tame the Buddha. And Shariputra was a little bit smarter, and Madhgalena was a little bit less. And they decided that whoever finds a spiritual teacher first will go. We'd have to agree that we're going to do it. So Shariputra went down to Rajgir. And he went down, going down to Rajgir to perform. And he saw Ashvajit going on alms round, and we saw them. Suddenly Ashvajit then immediately Shariputra, how shall we say? He had this really special feeling, an extraordinary feeling. And he had the strength that he realized that he saw the noble Ashvajit receiving the alms, sitting under a tree and eating his alms. And he said, and he went to go say to Madhgalena, so he said to Ashvajit, who is your teacher? And he said, my teacher is the Spirit Master Gautama. And from the very minute, because Shariputra has extreme knowledge, the moment that he understood this, he immediately wanted to have. And he said, please teach me some of his Dharma. And so the Ashvajit said, all Dharma is born from the cause. The teacher taught the cause. The teacher also is the cessation of this cause. And then so the Buddha. And so the next morning, Shariputra went to see the teacher. And Shariputra Madhgalena went to see the Buddha. So that who should they teach? So that we should have done the person who first done the Dharma. So that was the first who taught them was actually Ashwajit. So he was the one among the Buddhist students who had the best conduct. And so they first prostrated to Ashwajit, and then they prostrated to the teacher. And we look at this story, we see how important conduct is. Because of this, it was like the primary method for benefiting sentient beings. And another reason why it's important is that there was the karma Bhadra Dharma, Bhadra karma. So he has a story about why he was that he had a great education, but in the end he fell down into the hell realms because of his conduct. Now the reason is, if you think about the reason why the conduct is important, if you look at the different types of conduct, there are the Kriya Charya and Kriya Charya Yoga and Anuttara yoga, Tantras, and so there's a reason. We can see that conduct is so important because we have the Charya or conduct Tantra, and also the way the Bodhisattva by Shantavira repeatedly emphasizes the conduct and how important it is. And so in this time, in our present day, think about the person that the main cause of harm for two people is other people. And the reason why is it's not that the people lack education. In fact, they use their education to harm each other. And so for this reason, we can see that in these days, the reason why people don't follow Dharma is because people don't. We can see that it's because of the lack of conduct. So we can understand that. So another reason for this is that most of the reason why their education is because if people have bad conduct, that they're causing great harm to people and the environment. And because of this, it's not a lack of education. It's because they don't have good conduct and are unable to put their conduct into practice. And so for these reasons why conduct is so important, what this shows is that behavior is greater than knowledge. So he's a very learned man. But he also said this proves that conduct or behavior is most important. Likewise. So that's like in our Himalayan tradition, like our mothers and mothers always say, it doesn't matter whether you achieve the Dharmakaya or not, but you better behave well. So what this shows is, for the very times primarily in traditional in the education, there's always a lot of advice about how to practice, advice about behavior. It's like a gold vase. It doesn't. It's just naturally very precious because it has. So there's no need to change it. If someone is a good person, you don't really need quality. There's no benefit to have them. So if a good person is a good, well-behaved person is like someone who has like a gold vase, so you can never do anything to improve it. If you're a human, no matter high education, if you don't have good behavior, good conduct, then you can't benefit anyone. For example, even if you don't have, whether you have realization or not, you have to get along with people. And so this is speaking about how important our conduct is. And because of this, to conclude, Rabindranath Tagore, the great, the Indian scholar, said, And so this quotation in Hindi also proves important that it is important to speak about talking about our efforts being so important is the gist of what he said in Hindi. So this is thank you very much. Sorry, Yeshu Doje from the opposing side, Spokura. Please, platform one more time. So next we have, on the presenting side or the supporting side, each of the members has 3 minutes to speak about after you've presented. Now that the and so the president, Jurmitawa. So please welcome Jurmitawa with a warm welcome, warm applause. First of all, to all the two Rinpoches and all the Tulkus who have come to this Western-style debate and everyone else, I'd like to say welcome. So I'm speaking about why education is more important than conduct. So I'd like to introduce, first of all, what is education? And so, as Sasaki Pendita said that about the importance of logic and so forth. So I could give a few different quotations in support of my position. To give a brief explanation of what education is, it's a way to make our lives better and a way to gain greater understanding. So we speak about education for ourselves, whether it is, that's basically what we understand it, whoever we are. So in this way, it's the ability to help ourselves and others. It's like as Chumepam said, as the basis of all the seen and unseen qualities is our intelligence. And so if we want to have, as the base of our qualities is intelligence or prajna. So for that reason, as you have education, then you develop your prajna. And so and so we can understand how the education is very. So because prajna is so important, then you can see how important the education must be. Without any prajna, it's very difficult to have good conduct anyways. And because Maitreya said in the, as you saw, as they said, where the Bodhisattva, all of these preparations have been taught for sake of prajna in the way the Bodhisattva Shantideva. So these all speak about how prajna is very important. It's like a lamp that lights the world. So if we want to eliminate all of our obscurations and misdeeds and so forth, we need the prajna. Without that, we are unable to eliminate all our obscurations and negative aspects of mind. And so you cannot do this with merely conduct. And so for this reason, as the Buddha said, very clear in the teachings of the Buddha. And so this is... So even someone it's possible that there are people who have little progeny who have good conduct and behave well. And it's very... So if we add... It's just like if you add some color to it, if you color a crystal, some people might think that it is a jewel, and you might think of it. And same way, if you have good conduct, if you don't have any education, even if you, when you meet a good spiritual friend, the first thing they have to do is give you some education so you can learn. To give a clear example of this. When you have good education, then the good behavior naturally comes. Like when you do agriculture, you plant seeds, right? And you do that in order to grow a crop, right? And so that, similarly, if you have the good, similarly to that example, then or that analogy, if you have good education, then the conduct naturally comes. So thank you to Guillermo Down. Please applaud. The second person on the, I'd like to welcome Misha Dorje on the opposing side. Please applaud and welcome. I'd like to speak out two reasons why conduct is more important than education. And so I'd like to speak about the conditions and so forth. As humans, we don't absolutely have to have good behavior. And in order to be a good person, good conduct is important, indispensable for being a good person. Because if you don't have good conduct, then no matter where you go, then people just stare at us, but no one will ever praise us or think well of us. When we think about what a good person is, someone who is upstanding in their body, in their conduct of body, speech, and mind. And so, for this reason, when you look up, those are the people we look up. If you don't have this good behavior, then it's very difficult. So, for this reason, the behavior is so expensive. If we think of a thing as being a good person based on on their behavior, even if you have an education or so forth, we can do whatever we like. And if we think about it in the short term, because of having good behavior, that we're then people will respect us and praise us. And in the future lifetimes, then ultimately we will also be able, because of our good conduct, we'll be able to achieve the highest states and the true excellence of liberation. And so what Nagarjuna said about this is, because we talk about the human dharma, we think about in order to benefit places, speaking primarily about our achieving of human lives. So we need to have good conduct. If we don't have that good conduct, then we will not be able to benefit ourselves or anyone else. And for that reason, in order to benefit, the cause for benefiting ourselves is not education, it's the good conduct. What the Sankhya Pandita said is, in his fine explanations, no matter how important somebody is, if you have good conduct, someone may have a lot of education, but if they don't behave well, then everyone criticizes them. So if you don't have the good conduct, the qualities will not be benefited. So there are many examples from the past, and there are plenty of present, and there certainly will be many examples in the future. For example, think about to give an example now. If somebody who has a qualities, education is great as a Buddha, but people who don't have qualities, who destroy the world and harm many other people. There are so many people like that in this world. If we can understand that, so think about so very well. So there was so they were talking about the it's because a person with education who became a president who did not behave well, and he treated other countries badly, and it caused many people to flee as refugees. So thank you very much. It's very important to have the good behavior. So thank you to Kama Dorje. Now our third supporting is Pema Wanchuk. So please applaud for Pema Wanchuk in welcome. First, I'd like to welcome everyone blessed who did this launch directly into my talk. When you're thinking about our topic is whether conduct or education is more important. So our position is that the education is more important. So if you think about what is the essence or nature of conduct, how we identify conduct, talk about this as the qualities that are able to develop our ability to discern what is right from what is not right, and so forth. And so as we as human beings, and we need to live in society. Not just that we're staying in society, but we also have to get along with other people. People in society don't always get along with each other, so it's very difficult for people to have similar ways of thinking. And so there's many different difficulties and problems in this lifetime. This both happens, both of it. And this, and the fact that when people don't they look at it, scowl at each other, and this just happens quite often. It's the reason that because of the lack of education. If someone has education, and then we think no matter what problems happen in society, we're able to eliminate the problems that occur in society. We're able to overcome the difficulties and problems. This is something that will benefit all subjects. We're able to improve the society. So this is, and we're able to bring great benefit to many people throughout society. It's the main reason that it comes down to our education. Not only is it to the education. They're all the members of the Sangha who are here. We're all like a society here, and we're all people who want to be happy, right? And so in this life, in order to bring ourselves happiness in this lifetime, the main method is education. As Kaji Kimchen Rinpoche often said, education is the root of benefiting, bringing happiness to oneself, but it's also a way of benefiting the country and the society in general. So in this 21st century, is extremely important and very valuable in the society. And the reason is, and another reason why that education is so much more important than conduct is that when we talk about the conduct is motivated by our minds. And so it's with our mindfulness, awareness, and carelessness that we are able to have good conduct. And this mindfulness, awareness, and conduct that the main cause for developing these is education. If we have a good education, then the power of our intelligence, and because of that, then we're able to do have sharper faculties and sharper intelligence. Because of this, we're able to think in a more vaster perspective, take a broader perspective, and so this way, the education is most important. And we're able to distinguish what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong. And so, in this way, the education is very important. Please applaud Pema Wangchuk. Following this is the third person from the opposing side. So please, this is Kamarabje. Please applaud Kamarabje. First of all, I'd like to offer my greetings to all the Rinpoches, Khenpos, and everyone else listening to this. And so probably him speaking in this debate today. So our topic is about which is more important, education or conduct. And the main thing is our behavior is much more important than education. And the reason is this is, if we think about it in either worldly or Dharma terms, conduct is extremely important. In terms of the Dharma, well, the reason why conduct is important is that in our practice and in any religion, conduct is very important, particularly in Buddhism. The conduct is extremely vision in Buddhism. We have the third is the view, meditation, and conduct. And conduct is very important among these three. And it's primarily for the sake of conduct that Buddha taught the discipline. We have to take the taught discipline. And so these, It's by keeping the vows of discipline and practicing these that we're able to bring ourselves happiness. And so the basis is our good conduct, our good behavior. And so this is primarily speaking the behavior of the bhikshus, the Vitsuritan. I think there's proof that conduct is much more important than education. Also, Nagarjuna said it. As they said, the basis of all qualities is discipline, just like the earth is a basis for everything that grows. Vasubandhu also said, with listening and contemplation and completely engaged in meditation. So in order to have the listening, contemplation, and meditation, you need to have the basis of the proper conduct and discipline. And so without that, and so this shows that conduct is a much more important than education. Likewise, the Buddha said it has, during the Skajupana spoke with the Sangha from the Nepal, India, and Bhutan about the importance of wearing the Dharma robes properly and so forth. The main reason for this is that for humans that they don't have good behavior, they don't get along with each other. No matter how much occasion a person has, they may have no matter how much weather. There's nothing surprising about that. What's mainly amazing if someone behaves well. That's what's really amazing about a person. And what is the reason for this? It's because that the behavior is more important than education. That he says that if we look at this, if you think about it, we have all these nuclear bombs and weapons and so forth, and this causes a lot of wars between different countries. And what's the reason for these great wars? Is because the people have bad behavior. And so when we think about this, we think that it's a conduct that is much more important than education. Thank you. Please applaud Kamar Abye. Now the fourth person from the presenting side, Jogan Chodyal. Please applaud him and welcome. Our teacher, the perfect Buddha, woke to Buddhahood. And the Buddha himself has spent 6 years practicing austerities, and not only that, he also went through many hardships. And what he said was, he said we must have listening and contemplation, he said. Our opponents here have said that conduct is more important than education, but that's not right. If you think of what Mipham Rinpoche said is, so if you don't know how to distinguish what you need to do, the basis of all is about the essence. The basis of all qualities is prajna. If you have that, then you're able to develop all the qualities. So in these days, conduct is, of course, important, but I see education as more important. The reason for this is that in these days, if you go to a hospital, for example, you may have very good If you go to the, it's just by having good conduct that the doctor will be able to give you medicine and so forth. Because the first going to ask you, he's going to have to figure out what is it that you need to know. If you have a headache, for example, if you have a headache, and so thank you to Dogen Chacho. Please applaud. Following this, we have the fourth member of the opposing side, Comrade Dorje. So please applaud him and welcome. I'd like to offer my greetings to Kyabje Member Rinpoche and Kyabje Tsokwa Rinpoche who have come to this discussion, as well as all the members of the Sangha. As you all know the topic of this, however, once again to mention it, whether education is more important, conduct, or conduct more important than education. So I'm not just speaking in terms of the opposing side, not just in terms of like the supporting side. Ultimately, not even the actual point. To realize it, what the main point is. The main thing we need to realize is our conduct. And this proves that our conduct is the most important. For example, when the Buddha was alive in the world, he was extremely learned, right? Extremely, incredibly. There are many great conducts. So he had it was well known that he had the ability to know as much knowledge as could be contained in these, all the books that could be carried by 500 elephants. But what is his name? What was he called? But his name was what? It was Devadatta. This is Devadatta at this time, the Buddha. The reason why he's called the Mahara Devadatta, because he had the education. It may have been equal to the Buddha in his education. But even if his education was limited, but his conduct, right, was like a regular person, right? And so forth like that. So that's why he's called his conduct was like a demon, so that's why we call him the demon Devadatta. So when you say that education is so important, you've got to tell it. I think you have to give an example of that as Devadatta if you don't think about this well, right? In particular, it's like if you think about someone with really bad conduct, it's out of his anger for the Buddha, and his jealousy and envy, and his lack of respect for the Buddha. And he fomented a schism within the Sangha. And because of all this bad act in the end, what happened to him? He didn't even get any, it's one of the present that he got for the president. His prize for this was falling in the lower realms, right? And the reason for this is, if we give it this example, we can see how much more important than education conduct is. My time is probably pretty much up. Thank you. So, thank you very much, Kadir, for saying so well. So please applaud him. The fifth member of the presenting side, or the supporting side, Sering Wanjel. So please applaud him and welcome. I'd like to offer my welcome to the two Rinpoches, all the Tulkus, the Khenpos, and all the members of Sangha, to everyone. So myself, I'm on the supporting side. I'm saying that education is more important than conduct, and so what we need to achieve in the end is solely Buddhahood, and we all understand this, right? When I talk about in order to achieve an omniscience or Buddhahood, if you don't have the qualities of education, then there's no way that you can achieve them. It's extremely difficult to attain it with education. So education is our opponent. And so the reason why they're makes someone have a good conduct is with having a good a good education. And in order to achieve Buddhahood also, what it is Longchenpa said is don't depend on the words. Now, there's no meaning that doesn't depend. There's no meaning that doesn't depend on words. In order to understand it, if you do not know the words, you aren't able to understand the meaning. And so Nagarjuna also said, without relying on words, you won't be able to understand the ultimate. With understanding the ultimate, you will not be able to achieve nirvana. So if you don't understand this, and so my friend has already said, and we must have at the beginning, because we have education at the beginning, that we're able to achieve omniscience. And so without that, and so when we talk about listening, contemplation, meditation, the reason we're talking about listening first is that if you don't have listening or education, then you cannot do any practice. In order to be able to do meditation, you have to have education first. If you meditate without so if you have listening but no meditation, then you lose your any benefit you get quickly. So as Vasubandhu said, with listening, contemplation, is you have to have the listening, contemplation, meditation. If you start practicing in meditation in the beginning, you have to have the education first. If you don't, it's extremely important. And so for this one, it's very clear that education is far more important than conduct. And so this is the reason why you can have good conduct is the having the education. So thank you to everyone. So thank you very much to Sangha Wangla, who spoke very well. So please clap your hands. Now following this, we have the first person on the list, Chime Drayang. So please clap and welcome for Chime Drayang. So I'd like to, this evening, I'd like to offer my welcomes to Yungir Minrinpoche and Tsokten Rinpoche who've come, disregarded the difficulties and come to this evening, as well as everyone else here. So when we're speaking about whether conduct or education is more important, if I think about it for my own self, so as I'm on the opposing side, saying that conduct is more important. I think no matter whatever that, you can see that no matter which end, you can see that conduct is far more important than education. It's not just. So we talk about this normally. If you think about the logic and the scriptures that support it and so forth, it's clear that this is so. If you think about it in terms of logic. If you have good conduct but no education, then in through that conduct you will be able to operate well in society and be able to bring everyone else happiness. This is the second proof is that Even if you have great actions, if you have no good conduct, then because of this conduct, or because you not only will you may have a high education, but you destroy everyone else's happiness. And if we look at the past history, the first thing is that if you think about it in the earliest stages, so in those days there was absolutely no words for this. It's a people with great merit, and people have very good conduct, and then because of they naturally able to bring is able to live in great happiness, and later because of their developing a lot of greed and so forth, that gradually as people's merit decreased, and because of this, then it's only then that people started having education, and this is a sign of their lack of merit that people had to have educations. Now, another example of this is that no matter how much education, if you don't have good behavior, you cause a lot of discussion. If the reason for this is that if you look at history, think about the world wars, the great world wars. Think of the reason why both the second and world wars ended is because of people, even though they had a very high, had great education, but because they didn't think well, they didn't know how, they didn't have good conduct and so forth, then you had the world wars. They used their education badly in order to harm other beings and destroyed all the peace in the world. Think about in terms of the world as we had many of you came to the Dalai Lama's teachings here in Bodhgaya, and he spoke about how we sentient beings we naturally, whether raised by mother, but the mother has her love, and so we naturally have that measure. But because as we grow older, it start begin to think about it, then and the education and so forth often causes our good life and so forth. It overcomes that, so we forget about our own natural loving love and so forth. And this is the reason why we have war, such as Second World, so forth. And so this is why it's so important why we have this. And so this is another example of why the conduct and behavior is much more important than education. So thank you very much. And the next time each have 1 minute each. So from the presenting side, we have Karma Norbu. Our opponent said quite a bit, but that's like they're not listening to us at all. However, well, the primary thing that you're saying is that without any education, that doesn't help to have any education. If it's a thing you're trying to refute us in this way by saying, but if you do that, then of course there's nothing we can say about that. If you can't prove that you can't. It's not proving that they're proving that there's education with no conduct or conduct with no education. It's with the reasons why. If you look at what you have to look at, not at what it's like if you have one or the other. It's when you have both, and they say, what is it the best thing? You have to look at what is primary when you have both. It's not a question of proving that education is without conduct or conduct without education is important. If you think about, you're talking about Devadatta and so forth, and the main thing is it's primarily because he didn't have the qualities of education. Because how we know that he had qualities? Because in his view, in his own being, had a lot of arrogance and envy, and because of that, that shows how much ignorance he had. It's a question of that he did not have an education, he did not have good understanding. And the first opposing side, Yeshe Dorje, please speak for 1 minute. No, we said that first that you first need to it's not that you need to have education first and not then conduct later. Is what he said. What the Buddha said to the. As the Buddha said, that it's because of the, on the basis of our conduct that we develop our education, and so it is on the basis of having good conduct that you may free yourselves from servicing. Think about the different someone I'd like to say, there's a Tibetan exhibit. Without your, you have to have. If you have to have good conduct, but then you notice it. And once you have it, then you have to do it yourself. You have to have a good basis for everything. If you want to do it, you need like a basic, like you have to have like something like poured water. If you're going to pour water into something, you have to have something to pour it into. So if you don't have like the good basin of conduct, then you won't be able to pour any water anywhere, and you lose all the water. And so that's another example. Someone who has, because people who have bad conduct. So please give an example of someone who is who's learned, who doesn't have good education or good conduct. So next, after this, the second person on the is Jurmidawa on the supporting side. What I like to say is that, to say in brief, basically, you're saying that you're trying to prove that conduct is so important, but if you think about it, but if you don't listen to tantras, then you won't be able to become a Buddha. You won't become a Buddha through just the sutra. So if you want to study then in the unexcelled Yoga Tantra, there is absolutely nothing about conduct. It's always about the understanding. If you need to have the education of that, and so I think if you probably should do. And to say more about this, as one of my friends said. Novices and bhikshus have to have good conduct, but so that proves you have good conduct. But in order, we need to practice. You have to have the 5 ways of studying keeping the precepts, and he's listening each of these 5 different ways. And so these 5 different ways of holding. Among the most important of them is recognizing the reason why. If you recognize the reason why you need to keep it, then you are able to keep it. If you don't know, and that because recognizing that is education in order to be able to have good discipline. So this is very important. So this proves that education is very important. The second person is Karmic Dorje on the opposing side. So I'd like to somebody opposing this. Something very good. So these quotes in Hindi show us the reason why behavior is so important. I'm sorry, I can't translate Hindi yet. So Pema Wangchuk on the supporting side. Our opponents are speaking very nicely, but there's something not quite right about this, and the reason about this is that one day before we began the Ajamana, we usually have the reason for the examination of the form of our behavior and so forth. This is the reason we do it, but for a month before the movie, spent from the morning from 5:30 in the morning until 10 at night, we're spending working hard for education during the Kagyu Gunchu, right? And the reason we're going to the Gunchu is not because of we're going there because its conduct is so important. It's because the education is so important. It's a little difficult to say that it's a conduct, isn't it? Now the third one on the opposing side is Comrade Abdiel. 1 minute, please. My opponents are speaking nicely, but no matter how good an education you have, the reason why I do it is in order to have a good conduct. It's in order to behave well. The reason why you get an education is to behave well, right? That's not the reason. Likewise, it's that if you want to get along in society, you have to have education, but I don't think that that's quite it is. If you want to have a good society, you have to. What's the most important thing is our behavior and our way of getting along with people is what's important. But education doesn't really help anybody. It doesn't. Likewise, if you want to achieve Buddha, you have to have. You say that education is important. But if you think about this, lots of people have great educations, but none of them are achieving a Buddha these days, right? What's the reason for that? If you want to achieve the state of Buddha, you have to have good conduct and good behavior. If you don't have there's no way that you can achieve that. There's no one who can do that. Thank you. Now the fourth person on the supporting side, Dubchacha Papa. So if you're saying the scowling face, if a dark face, then but actually have a white face. So education is more important, right? Only conduct doesn't help because the reason why it doesn't help, you can behave well, but but is that enough on its own? No. We have the fourth person on the opposing side, Kamarikzen Dorje. For 1 minute, please. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Now, what I'm thinking now is, I thought I would make a general refutation of everyone, but because we're Buddhist, we talk about karmic cause and effect. If we think about an example of karmic cause and effect, there's the Indian saying that we always say. You know the conversations in your own mind. If you think about the example of Devadadi, and he understands things well. If you don't think about it, if you think about it, if you aren't careful, you're going to end up like him. But I give say a little bit about in this world. There's this being, something very nice, very cute. And if this is like there's an animal, it's cute, then everyone take care of it. Like you have like little pet dogs. If it has no conduct at all, it's like there's like the no good conduct and something like the people on the people said that no one's going to take care of it. In the end, they're going to call. There's a dude that's going to become a stray dog. So this shows it how much more important conduct is than education. So if the dog behaves well, then people will take care of it. But if it don't, they'll kick it out and it'll become a stray dog. So now we talk about with conduct, there's good and bad conduct. There's also good and bad education. So when you think about the many stories, the stories of many and because these all happen because of people having bad education, understand it. If you have a bad education or if you have a spoiled education, this is not a question of the education. It's not because of someone. Actually, education is a way for people to develop and to become better people. It's not the reason. And so these are all people who to help. The people you're giving examples of good behavior are people who have good education. And one of my friends said that the education is like your eyes. I'm not sure that that's how important your eyes are, but prajna is the eye that looks at the path, as is described in many quotations in the Buddha's words and in the treatises. Not only this, we think about education with the head in your heart. If you only think about it in your head, that's not the education that we necessarily mean. But of course, and so what if you have bad behavior? What is that because of? It's because of having a bad education. That's right. It's not having good education. And so good educational qualities. And so this happens because of bad education, not because of having good education. Thank you very much. And the fifth person is Chimi Jayang. So you have 1 minute. Thank you for the opportunity. One of my friends said was that there's no no so if you're a speaker, for example, if we for it's important for us to so generally speaking, on the ocean, the water is most important for our being. Then contact is more important. If you do not understand it, if no one has education, they don't follow any rules. But because if you look at many people, so why do people behave badly? It's because so the reason. So we've gone through everyone 2 times now, and then finally. We have 10 minutes for the Sangha to ask questions. So first, is there anyone who has any position in support of the idea?
Siamo all'ultima fase di che dura 10 minuti in cui ci sono domande da parte del pubblico che è Sangha, monaci e monache che possono fare domande sia a un lato, quello che sostiene che l'educazione è più importante rispetto alla condotta etica e comportamento, oppure se è più importante sostenere.
We have 2 minutes each. Please speak quickly.
Veloci, per favore.
My question is for the people on this side. They're the opponents, right?
La domanda è
I'd like to ask a question, then I have an opinion. What he said was, so that when just merely seeing Ashwajit Shariputra felt faith, what is the logic behind this? It's because he's seeing the conduct. Is it to develop faith? It's either because of because of some connection of being a student teacher in previous life. It's because like you don't feel any faith in it. Is it because you don't have any faith in it? Because it is not. Because it might be. Because you seem to. And I think that because we have, it's because we don't have the connection from the previous lifetime, and the presenting side that is in order to achieve Buddhahood, you have to follow the mantra. And you've probably seen the. But whether we think in terms of logic, and both Sutra and Tantra, there is awakening to Buddhahood. If there was why would the Buddha? If it weren't such a case, why did the Buddha have not happened? In particular, it's not clear to say this. There's awakening to Buddha in both the Sutra and Tantra. And the reason is, the question is how long it will take. Following the Vajrayana is faster. You can do it in a faster distance. So you say that education is more important than goodness. But you think, well, what is goodness? Education is right. So you can meditate as much as you want. There's a lot of people in the world who meditate. If you think about what good education, that's the main. The Buddha, the one important one is thinking about your thing. You can have this in the China, in the Catholic, in the Christians. You can have it in the most strong in the Buddhists. It's the education of our own internal mind. That's the most important thing. The reason. The question is it's not just that the connection as a student teacher in the previous life. It's because the Buddha looked in his omniscience, able to see that Ashwajit was able to benefit him through his conduct, so that Ashwajit was someone whether they had a karmic connection or not. It's because of his conduct that people would feel faith and interest in. So this is a great feature of the Buddhas and their teachers. It's because of this is why the Buddha considered Ashwajit as one of his preeminent students, because of his conduct. I'd like to say there's also that education is like a jewel. It's important, and this is because, as what Tsongkhapa said, spoke about it. The main thing we need is, as according to so when people about discipline is the basis of qualities, but discipline. The discipline is actually like a type of prajna. The main things it's like behaving well is not the ultimate content. The ultimate thing is to achieve the state of Buddhahood. Please stand up so everyone can see you. I'm not sure which is the side of supportive to give an opinion. So the first thing is that prajna is important in order to benefit others. But after you have prajna, if you don't have good conduct, then there's a danger that you can destroy the whole world. So you need both prajna and conduct. So prajna is, to give an example of prajna, because of strong prajna, then you know what to have a good behavior, and then you have to have good conduct to have your prajna. If someone has a lot of prajna, has a lot of intelligence, but they don't know how to behave, well, then that's not really true intelligence. But if you have qualities, then it's really, if you're going to have an education, you absolutely have to have good conduct. So that's that. And the reason why you have to good conduct is because in order to have develop good qualities, it's not that you're going to have behave well in order not to have qualities. As Sakya Pancham said it. It said that it's a sign of being learned is It's talking about having good conduct and the good attitude. So it's because you have education that you need to have the good behavior. So in the future, if you could all first have develop a good education, then behave well, and then serve the monastery self. Thank you. I have a short question. This is not. It's just an opinion. So don't you have to have, you person has to have good education and a good education. You need both of them. If you have a good education, if you did, you may have good education, but that doesn't benefit. But the reason why you have to is because you have the education in order to be able to bring benefit other people, and so you have to have good conduct. So if you want to earn money, you have to have an education. So you have to think about it. So this is important. However, you have a person has to because you have a person have to have an education. They also have money. No, not money. They have to have good conduct. So there's a reason for this, isn't it? So if you have good conduct but no education, or they're like a dog. It's like that. So does it because dogs don't understand? Doggies don't understand that. If the doggy only has an education, that doesn't matter. So if they don't have a good conduct, because the dogs don't behave well at the beginning. If they got it, if you hold the leg, then he jumps for the food. So there's something. If you say come for food, he comes immediately, right? It doesn't need education to begin with. That's not what we need. Thank you. No, I'd like to. We said you have to have both education and conduct, but I think this sort of we need to. But we talk about this in terms of both of these questions. We also say our opinions, but if you want to say so, we're given one side that we're told the other day. I'd like to say good evening to everyone. I'd like to. I said that. So I think the conduct is more important than education. The reason is that the sixth transcends the second is conduct, right? It's because of this. And so what's the basis of Siddhartha? The reason why discipline is taught in second is because of our because of the importance of conduct, and then similarly, if you're thinking about the ornament of precious realization by Gampopa, what it says is they talk about during the talk about the speech about the good. It's a good student. Is good. If you can have a good standard in order that it's not a quality. Someone who, if a student who has good contact with them, they become a contest because it's because they receive all their qualities from their teacher that it's because of their they can be a good student because of their good conduct. So the student has to follow a teacher, and the reason because the qualities of learning come from this. This is why they come from it. That's what it is. So I'd like to say good evening to everyone. Would like to say to Professor, when you think about conduct and we have good education, we're speaking about having good conduct and good education. What I'd like to say is that I think that independence is more important. When you say that conduct is more important, when you talk about people who say their conduct is no good, no good. And the reason was it because they don't have good education that they have bad conduct. It's like Devadatta. It's a sign that he didn't have a good education. Then it's because if you have good education, then you'll know what is a good way to behave and what is a bad way to behave. You'll know everything, right? And it's because he didn't have good education. If you have good education, you can tell what is good and bad. You can tell what is good. And because he was unable to distinguish what was right behind it, you can say that sign that he didn't have a good education. Thank you. I'd like to respond to him. So Devadatta had the education, was able to understand what was the meaning that taught in text, the text that 500 elephants could carry. So how that could happen? How could that happen if he didn't have a good education? When you talk about people like Naropa, he was known as being very intelligent, and it's because of his education. Nanda, and if we just think about Nanda, it's because he understood the Dharma, but he did not practice, but he didn't put it into practice. And if we don't have education, then we're not able to free ourselves from suffering. It's because of the qualities. If we can understand the cause of suffering, then if we can do this without conduct, then I think this is an Upkritavasana. It's because we are in samsara that the reason why we're in samsara is because we don't have education. So the main reason for being in samsara is ignorance. Those who speak about conduct say that if grass doesn't have any roots, the wind will carry it away. Speak of this, and that's very true, but there are two questions about this. Maybe you understand in Indian. That's it. Is it great intelligence? Go to Nepal. So please answer. So what's more important? Is the person better or is the Buddha better? And the respondent says the person is better because the person becomes a Buddha. And so the Buddha is greater than humans because the Buddha is greater. This is because of the quality. The question is because my question is, for both sides, the opponents and the supporters, I'd like to ask the supporters. They're saying that education is important, and the reason, to give an example, If you have a person who doesn't have a lot of education, if let's say has like a girlfriend, etc., the boyfriend doesn't have a lot of education, but he is well body, speech, and mind. He is able to present his file, and but he doesn't have, if he goes to it, and so if he goes to the restaurant and he buys some momos and coffee, then what is more important, his conduct or his education? The other side of, does this person have education or not? If you're thinking about this, if it's the ability to present, if someone has good conduct like that, is this because he doesn't has education or not?
Non si capisce la domanda, nel senso della domanda. Quindi non la traduciamo, non possiamo tradurre ciò che non capiamo.
It seems like people are talking about education as just knowing texts.
E le persone pensano all'educazione come a studiare i
So
testi,
I'd like to know, what do you mean by education? Can you give an example of what education is?
a lezione. Potete spiegarci che cosa intendete per educazione?
It's in terms of saying that, so I think that it's better to say that conduct is better and more important than education. The reason was that education, you think about a good education, but if we take it with that,
Una buona educazione,
and if you think about it in terms of us being monastics,
dal punto di vista monastico,
then most of us are sent to the monasteries as by our parents, and the reason is that same hope.
per nella
Is
speranza,
it because of being in the monasteries?
nella speranza che sia nel monastero.
So they think that they would come here and study the five philosophical texts, and because
Qui studiamo i testi
then
filosofici,
go off and take off our robes and go off and lay clothes and wear wet clothes.
lasciamo le vesti monastiche e andiamo in giro per il mondo con le nostre vesti.
And so we could go off and go to people's weddings and drink and dance and so forth. If we could, what do our parents say?
Andiamo in giro per il mondo
And what happened is our parents would cry about this.
e che
I
cosa
sent my child to the monastery and didn't turn out well. The Kumba didn't help them.
il monastero per un sacco di anni e poi non
So
sono riusciti a aiutare i nostri genitori.
and the main reason for this is that is it because of their education or is it because of their conduct?
Una causa dell'educazione e una causa di una condotta migliore.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Grazie per l'opportunità.
If you have a little bit of education, because of your education, because the question is, will you be able to achieve omniscience or not because of that?
Riuscirai a raggiungere
So
il risultato di questo?
you have to have the five areas of study in terms of grammar, the arts, and so forth. If you become well versed in these, then you can achieve Buddhahood.
Poi a causa
But if you're not well versed in learned in the five qualities, then there's no way that you can achieve the state of Buddhahood. And another thing I'd like to say is that here we are. I think about it in terms of society.
a causa della società,
We have our aims, and in order to have a good aim,
noi dobbiamo avere delle mete, per avere delle mete.
merely having good education does not help us in our life because we also need to have an education.
Senza educazione
And
non
a person who has a good person may behave well, but if they don't have any education, then that person is not going to be able to become teacher or kempo or something. The reason in order to become this, you have to have the education yourself. If you don't have the education, then you won't be able to teach others. And so for that reason,
per insegnare agli altri, di trasmettere questa conoscenza, questo beneficio. Quindi la
so the others say that the education is more important than conduct for that reason.
ecco perché è più importante l'educazione rispetto alla condotta, perché è tramite l'educazione che si permette
many questions were asked. Do you have any from the president? Do you have any an answer for them? I'm not sure whether this is going to be an answer that's going to go. Whether this is going to answer all the questions or not. But some people think that education. So education is really knowing what is good and not. It's not just in terms of logically, but intellectually, but also in your heart. If you don't have education, then what it means is that somebody that is sort of ignorant. And if we think about the question of the parents and the parents and the child, it's both of their problems. If the parent is saying that the monastery is not good, it's not. It's not. The monastery was abandoned because that person didn't study the education that they left the monastery. It's not because of the monastery is not good that they did it. It's not a question of education. So please, from the please give an answer to the questions. So I'd like to say some Hindi poetry in response to these questions. It's out of your effort that you will become, but it's out of your behavior that you'll become better. So what is your family with your conduct? So I hope that this, I'm sure you all understood this. I hope that it answers your questions. There's some questions in public that they're saying the conduct was not important, and the reason is because you probably, when you come to this Monday, you haven't been reading the Sangha, the Noble Aspirations for Exploration well. And so they're sitting here, drinking tea and thinking about anything. If you read the Aspiration for Exploration well, you understand how important conduct actually is. It said that by reciting this aspiration for noble that someone who's accumulated one of the five heinous actions will be completely purified out of it. So if it doesn't like just getting distracted, thinking about other things, and is thinking if you're practicing reciting the noble aspirations, whether there's benefit for you as an aspirant, you understand how important the conduct is. Thank you very much. Finally, we'll have the conclusion. The two, you have 5 minutes for each of the concluding speeches. Considering Wanja for the supporting side. When you think about speaking about the importance of education, we have to think about the benefits of education. If you don't understand the benefits, then you can't understand whether it's important or not. So I'd like to give some examples of the benefits of education. What it says in the Udana Vargva, it's through listening that you will learn. It's through listening that you will achieve nirvana. And so Jumipa Rinpoche said, if you have good education, then not only will you understand Dharma, you also understand the meanings. That's what the speaking about Devadatta is not understanding the meaning. And the reason they understand it because they have not, because listening you give up what is not useful. If you're someone who's studied well in the beginning, then your enemies, or then your problems will become your aids. No, so it said quite a bit in Hindi and English, but I'm not sure.
C'è un sacco di cose in hindi e in inglese.
So say a few words about no education, no power. If you can have some, you won't be able to realize anything. If you have any power to it, you won't be able to improve in your own life. You need to have power to it. That comes from your education. If you have no education, then you will be unable to accomplish your wishes in this lifetime. And because of this,
È la dimostrazione più
education is much more important than conduct. Ultimately, what we wish is that both education and so forth, both of the cause and the result,
siano causa del
but generally it's the causes that are more important, I'd like to say, than the cause of education. So,
risultato.
I know we spent an hour and a half.
Abbiamo trascorso un'ora e mezza,
We've spoken about this, and
parlando di questo, un'ora e mezza. No,
if we have made any mistakes or things, I'd like to ask, beg your forgiveness for
se
this.
ho commesso degli errori voglio chiedere scusa di questo.
So I'd like to thank everyone for participating in our debate this evening.
Partecipanti del dibattito stasera.
As Chimidang also has 5 minutes to give the summary for the opposing side.
Riassunto del lato
We, whatever we humans are doing, the aim of our education is to become, to have a good result. And the result of that comes down to, the source of the teachings of the teachings of the Buddha. It's the root of happiness is Buddhism, and it comes down to the Buddhist teachings. And the reason, the basis of Buddhism comes, as it is often said,
come
the basis of it is the Vinaya and the Paratimoksha vows, because it comes down to the Vinaya teachings. And the Vinaya Dharma is a way, is the basket of teachings that overcomes the bad conduct of body and speech and mind. And so that this is among the three trainings. We have it's not primarily the training in prajna or in samadhi, but it's the training and discipline that is most important. And so this is.
la base è la disciplina.
And so when you think about the external bond, the internal benefit, and the positive. So the external discipline of the Patimoksha, the internal discipline of the Bodhisattva, and the secret discipline of the Vajrayana. So when you think about it in terms of the Buddha, the Buddha said that education is far less important than conduct. Conduct is more important. Think about it. When you think about what is cause and effect, you have to think about it in terms of the time. What is the past and future? What is the past and the cause of what brings it, the benefit? It's because think about the times of the past. At the beginning of the 20th century, people had a lot of good conduct and a lot of happiness. And from the 50th until the 1950s until now, we have over 70 years as people have far worse conduct and so forth, and because of the conduct that has there more wars and many other problems that this happened. And so in our current era, it's an era of education and prosperity. And so the reason this shows us that this is important. And so it's because of what this shows is that it's so the history shows us that the conduct is much more important than education. And a recent event there was a conference for so many scientists and many and many people have participated, and among them, l- after the conference was finished, they went to go to walk around the on the. They saw all of the older people who were smiling and speaking and laughing and so forth. They see that when the scientists saw that, they were absolutely, they saw all the elderly people who seemed so happy because when they go to that no matter how much education people have, when people get to the 70s or 80s and they get to then, they have such suffering and difficulty. They are suffering scowling and have difficulties from the difficulties they face. But they see the Tibetan, if they seem to be so happy, and so what this shows is that when our Himalayan peoples, we have very low educational levels, and it's, I suspect the ordinary people, even though they don't have any education, what they have is they have because of the advice they receive in the tradition, they have a good education, and so they are always very joyous and happy. And what this shows is how important that education is far more important than education. So I'd like to say in conclusion, the what's the antidote for our suffering is not our education. That's not so important. It's important is that we behave well in our life. So last of all, I think this shows that conduct is more important than education. So today, the so if there's been any problem in our behavior, comportment of body, speech, and mind, then I'd like to confess it and ask for your and apologize to you. But as I said, if we have gained any merit of this, but all of this is because so that all the people on the supporting side who say that education is important, but they may purify all their obscurations as saying so, and quickly realize how the good conduct, and because of this, then they will be able to quickly progress in the path and achieve the two bodies of a Buddha. And so this is my aspiration that I make now. So with this dedication, I'd like to conclude this and say. So I'd like to conclude this into this. So thank you all very much. So all of you have to come in person. I would like to thank you all for coming. As good night. Thank you. The supporters and the opponents have both spoken very well. Sometimes it seems like the supporters are saying that there's nothing more important in the world than prajna, and they give many logic and quotes. When they speak about the quote, and then when you listen to the opponents, it sounds like nothing is important except for conduct. So it's something I'm not sure who. So I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, usually we think about the sign of listening is that you're peaceful and it's the most important that you must have the prajna of listening, contemplation, meditation. And it should not be a prajna that looks out, but a prajna that looks inside. So you develop the signs of listening and the peaceful and subdued conduct. And because of your meditation and practice, that be free of any greed, hatred, and delusion. So this is what we need. And this is the instruction or the aim of the Buddhist Trinity. And so, similarly, Gampopa said, if we do not practice it, then if we do not practice Dharma according to the Dharma, there's a danger that the Dharma will bring to the lower realms. Since if you look outside and just listen, follow examples and words, and so do not really look at your own being, not even think about your own being. Then, as I said it, as like Devadatta, you might. Devadatta had spent a long time studying, but in the end, because of the pride and envy in his mind, he was unable to pacify them, and at the end, he was reborn in hell, as these histories say. When we're studying, what the most important is that we look inside and subdue ourselves. If we are able to do this, then we are able to have good behavior towards everyone. And this is the nature of things. And so for this reason, the most important thing is, in Buddhism, you have to have the view, meditation, and conduct they have to be unified. Our listening, conduct, and meditation have to be unified. They all have to help each other in this way. So for that reason, we also be careful in our conduct. And we have to be conduct in our studies, and be diligent in our studies. And with these two together, become good, fine, upstanding people who can be able to serve society and be able to benefit ourselves and bring benefit to others. And this is what is important for us. So for that reason, as according to the intentions of the karma, but I'd like these Shoto students with great efforts. Been able to. We all need to have conversations with others. It's important for us to have these dialogues. And so, in order to have that dialogue, we divide ourselves into two: the supporting and the opponent. And we do this in order to develop our speaking skills in speaking. In other words, both conduct and education are important. It's as is unnecessary to say, but we speak about it in this way as it is. So thank you, everyone, for your efforts. So we spent all day in the pujas, and everyone must be tired now. But we've had this. But for all of you to come to this place where our oh, they've left. The two Rinpoches were here, of all the Khenpos who were here, and all the members of the Sangha who have participated. So, especially everyone from the public who've come with great enthusiasm and to express your opinions and to speak. So thank you very much. So thank you very much. In particular, I'd like to thank, as the moderator, I'd like to say, express my thanks to the 10 participants in our debate. Now, because of the virtues of our engaging in this debate, may the teachings of the Buddha flourish. May all the teachings uphold this, such as the leader of world peace, the Dalai Lama, and in particular our own Gyalwang Karmapa, the Buddha Karma Urgent Tene Dorje. May they all live long. May their activity be fulfilled spontaneously. And may all the beings uphold the teachings, live long, and their activity flourish. And may the listening, contemplation, and meditation of all of our monastics and students increase, so that all sentient beings may be able to enjoy the prosperity of an age of perfection, and quickly achieve the state of unexcelled, completely perfect Buddhahood. So please recite this dedication.